This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know this that I know. For the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, I know it, I know.
All right, everyone, welcome back. This is the S4Y Vlogcast, episode number 17, season number 2. Of course, it is myself, Christian Soto, a.k.a. Chin I Am, with my main man, Matt Big Bet Berkey. They call me the Chin I Am.
Do they?
Yeah.
Do they or do you?
Nah, they call me Chin. Now, I'm at Bellagio, now the floor calls me Chin. My name is Chin. Sometimes they get it wrong, and it says Chen, and I get mad. Like cheat, like CHEN.
Right.
But that's when I know that I don't tip that floor.
Sure.
It's like, you don't know me, I don't know you. You know? And that's it.
Big man about town, huh?
Nah, I'm a big man about respect, Berk. You know, know my name. Mm-hmm. Like when I call in and I say Chin, you know it's Chin. Why you hear Chen? You know? You know,
they're getting paid minimum wage, man.
Yeah, well, don't you want to get paid a little more when I throw you that extra 20 when I get there? You know? Shout out to lady got me a box today. Threw her 22.
I remember when I got my first box at Bellagio.
It's tough to get a box in there, man. I'll tell you, bro. They were like, they scanned how many hours I played. They were like, "Are you gonna be a seasonal player?" Like they were asking as if I'm gonna go back to the win and shit. Like,
well, you are.
Well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like,
I got my first box in 2010 after my deep run in the main event, and it wasn't even in the poker room. It was on the casino floor. So I had to walk my ass to the main cage every time I wanted to get chips.
Wow.
Actually, it was probably a good thing.
But you probably...
Gives you a chance to cool off.
Yeah. But those are probably big player. Like you have to be a big player to get a box over there, no?
No, I think that they just, were full in the poker room and they had access. I also remember the day they closed my box. It was like mid-2012. I hadn't been around for a few months.
Yeah, she told me, she's like, every 6 months, we drill the box.
Yeah, you go broke, they drill that shit.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. All right, so we're back. This week's a little bit slow news week in comparison to last week. Last week was just straight fire. Like everyone was just like, we're gonna kill everyone. We're gonna kill Postle. We're gonna kill JFK. We're gonna I was like, bro, what's going on? We're gonna kill Fedor, that cheater. Like I was like, I couldn't even move, man. I was like watching my back and shit. Maybe someone was coming after me.
You know what we did as a community?
What?
Lifted the rug. Got a nice little sweep under it.
Why is it like that, man? It's crazy.
No one cares. No one cares, man. Like, I mean, whatever. The JFK thing, wheels are in motion to get the data, and he's suddenly just gone silent. Seems smart.
Smart.
I mean, smarter than the
probably got
3 days of him popping off.
He was on a bender.
Yeah, who knows what the fuck was going on there.
You think his lawyer called him?
I don't know if he has a lawyer, but I'm sure somebody said, like, stop being an idiot. Maybe the documentary producer. Who knows?
Maybe it was like a plan. Maybe it was just like, yo, go crazy. See if like... So Weronika said that she might get served this week.
She does. I mean, the community has her back in some regard. It's going to suck because I don't know what that entails. I don't think slander gets thrown out of a court quite as easily as cheating scandals, which is kind of ironic. But
you would go to bat for Weronika?
I mean, we're going to have data.
But like, you would have her back?
Yeah.
If she robbed the bank, you would have her back?
No.
I just had to make sure where we stand. Bro.
She didn't do anything wrong.
There was a lot of comments on this robbing the bank thing. Like a lot of people were like, yo.
Yeah, you're going to be my friend. Don't rob any fucking banks.
That's
not that hard.
I need to know where the line is.
Be a reasonable human being.
What would be the line for you, Berk? Like what's the line? Like let's set
morally
the line.
Gray areas, not like lawfully gray areas. It's not even gray. That's black and white. Like you don't rob banks.
Because I feel like I tell you a lot of things and I say like keep it between us. But like if I tell you like rob a bank, keep it between us, you're not gonna keep it between us.
I don't want that secret, man. Don't tell me. I don't want the burden.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so she's likely to get served this week. Okay. I mean, there's gonna be a little like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like I don't know what the procedure is after that.
I don't either, but I mean, for her sake, it kind of has to become a big news story because she's gonna need some sort of help fighting the case. And it's just like it sets a really bad.
Set up the Patreon account, the GoFundMe account.
I don't know if that's what it's going to take or not, but like, you know, whether it's the community proving her innocence or, you know, helping her financially, whatever the case may be, like she definitely can't go at this alone. Let's put it that way. Like she's not going to be able to get a hold of all the data herself. She's not going to be able to demonstrate that she's not wrong. But yeah, I mean, like I just think it would set a pretty poor precedent if she were held liable for slander, or defaming the character of Stones and or JFK. This is a business that we all trust to put on a fair game, and that game is being ran by this manager that the business trusts to ensure that it's a fair game. And we as a collective community are pretty confident that that trust was breached. So if we can't speak up about it,
then what are we supposed to do? Just shut
up?
Like.
Yeah. I mean, this is the problem. I spoke about this a little bit on, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Robbie Straczynski's podcast, The Orbit, where I was basically saying, like, you know, the problem with self-policing is that even in the instances where we're all in alignment behind something, the action just isn't there. And in this particular instance, there was really no action to take other than publicly alerting people.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And if that falls under the category of defamation or slander,
like how are we supposed to protect ourselves?
Right. We're just kind of like rendered useless.
We would have had to like quietly gather the data and then present it and say they're cheating. Or
I don't
like
know if that matters. I don't know if that would matter. Right?
Like
because if what you're saying is true, then that can still happen retroactively to clear Veronika's name.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So like, I don't know that that's necessarily true, particularly because the court wasn't willing to hear a cheating case. So I don't know anything about the law when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like I'm certainly not,
especially Cali law. Like it's like,
yeah, I'm definitely not the authority here. It just seems that, I don't know. I mean, there is a little bit of a gray line here. Honestly, like I feel like, I don't know, this is going to get very touchy, but it's just like we do live in a very cancel culture type of social sphere these days. And there's a lot of he said, she said going on. You know, this is obviously far less egregious than a girl claiming rape or something along those lines. But I don't know where it starts and ends, right? Because you can look at it from both perspectives. It's like if we silence victims, then these bad acts continually perpetrate. But if we
we got him. We gave Berkey the word this time. Shit. Go ahead.
I tripped up a little. But if we allow the victims to come forward and they're wrong, and then we somehow retroactively hold them accountable for slander or defamation, then like it's just a very slippery slope. It's like I'm not sure where the line is drawn, right?
Yeah,
it's
man.
like when you come forward with facts, great. But what if the law kind of said, and again, I don't know, so I'm not speaking the truth here, but what if the law says truth isn't good enough, you have to come forward with evidence?
Yeah, I mean, is she supposed to gather all this evidence
right,
like by herself
now
without telling anybody? Like,
yeah, now it's a problem. Like, what if you can't prove that you were cheated? What if you can't prove that you were raped? What if you can't prove these types of things beyond a shadow of a doubt? Like, that's not how the legal system should work.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think if they do serve her, like the community is so outraged that I think that everyone will be happily chipping in, whether financially or in other ways of like of how to like.
I'm confident that for the community's sake, her going to court is a good event, but for her sake, I don't think it's a positive. I mean, you know, this litigation just gets dragged out for a long period of time. Nothing good really comes from it because like she's the one being accused now. So she has to prove her innocence, and the best outcome is that she's absolved of everything and has a huge lawyer fee to pay. Yeah, that's the best case, right?
Well, the other case, there was some other talk where if she does get served, then there's like some level of like discovery that has to happen.
Yeah,
and that might actually help in terms of like proving.
That's why I said it's good for the community,
right?
Because from the community standpoint, this is our chance to get back into court, even if it's not for those particular offenses. Our evidence will still be seen and heard. which is from the community element, very important, right? I don't think anybody cares at this point to like have Postle found guilty of cheating, have JFK found guilty of harboring or anything like that, because it doesn't matter, right? The retribution is zero. He's broke. So whether the law finds him guilty or just the court of public opinion, the outcome is the exact same.
But there is some like, okay, well, there is some punishment for you actually cheating. Like that, there is some.
He's serving that punishment anyway. The only difference is that we get to actually stand on our moral high ground and say we were right all along.
Yeah.
Unequivocally, as seen or as demonstrated in a court of law. Right now, we're just saying statistically, we're very likely to be correct. Right. And those are two very different things. But it's definitely not worth Weronika getting dragged through the mud.
Of course not. Yeah.
But that's out of our control.
You guys like these topics, man? I want people to subscribe to our channel. Like, I'm tired of these. You know what pisses me off, Berk?
Here we go.
Listen. Yesterday, I'm chilling, feet up, texting some girls on my phone, put on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm. Is this when you went on the 6-comment tirade on our channel?
That guy's a piece of shit. But listen, I'm like chilling, right? Feet up, texting shorties. And I'm like watching these random people that make poker content.
Sure.
100,000 views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what are they talking about? Like, they're talking about the turn. Oh, and I raised to $10 and the guy called and the turn was an ace. And now I have to think about what to do. And I'm like, bro, did they listen to the podcast where I broke down ace queen in 17 different formations? Like, what is going on here, man? Why don't they love us?
That's what they do.
I go to the Bellagio, everybody's like, yo, Chin, what up? Take a photo with me, whatever. Then they don't show me no love on the subscription.
No, they do. It's just a smaller subset, right? Like, we have a niche product. The vlogs and the hand history reviews and stuff like that, that's what the masses want. That's what they're getting in the search algorithm.
Can you imagine if Tom Dwan had a podcast? Like, I would be on that podcast. This is like you. Like, people look at you like they looked at Tom Dwan.
No. But that aside, it just doesn't work that way. Not in today's modern era, right? Like, for example, Run It Once also has a channel, right? And it's comparable to ours in size. Their views are like half of ours because they don't have the same level of loyalty and retention, right? And it'll grow, of course, because it has Galfon behind it, has Jamie and Marley and all these big names. And that's great. And it's good for the community as a whole. But the point is that people don't follow entities, right? Like I said from the beginning, the biggest mistake I made was starting the channel under S4Y instead of my name. Like, people follow names way more. It's what Doug did really well. He made an upswing channel. It has 25,000 followers just like us, right? But Doug Polk has 250,000 because people align themselves with a character.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really important. Yeah, I mean, it's weird. We don't know what moves the needle, right? So I'm going to reference it again, but I just did that podcast, The Orbit, with Robbie as the host. And I keep referencing it because I think it's a really great format. But the more important thing is Gelfon retweeted it, said he loved it, and said it was a must watch, right? I looked, it had 200 views.
That's crazy.
So that means of 200 people who watched this show, Gelfon was one of them, right? So it's weird, right? Because you would think anything that has a low view count would never have a high quality viewer. It's just unlikely, right?
Right.
But it's the opposite, right? So it's just like different strokes for different folks kind of thing. Like, we just don't know. We try to cover all the bases. It's very hard. And, I think, like, if we cared that much, we would individually start vlogs, individually start our own channels, see what the growth metrics look like by comparison.
Y'all want me to start my own channel out there? That shit might be out of line.
Yeah, we had a vlog once. You didn't do much fucking recording.
I mean, I'm a doer, okay? Like, you got to catch me.
No, you're not.
You got to catch me in the act.
That's the thing. You weren't a doer.
No, I'm not a do. Like, I am doing the action, okay? I'm not doing the recording of the action. You see what I'm saying?
So you want a full-blown film crew to follow you around.
Just one dude in the back. Like, just like, yo, what up?
Right. So we're hiring a cameraman.
Talk to us about this art behind you. I feel like it's kind of nice. This was a live at the bike game.
It was the big game part 3, I guess, or whatever the fuck they called it, $1 million cash game.
Yeah, $1 million cash game. So let's look at it. So this is there's Art Papazian, there's John Sin, there's Oscar, there is Matt Berkey, G-Man. I don't know who's in seat.
Did you just call me G-Man and G-Man me?
No, Matt Berkey and G-Man.
No, G-Man's first.
Yeah, well, you were blocking him from this angle.
It's Dan Smith in seat 9.
Oh, yeah, Dan Smith.
And then Dan Zach in seat 1.
Bill Klein. That was a pretty legendary table right there. This
was nice.
This is a tough one.
I mean, Dennis Blyden popping off.
Dennis Blyden out there, you know.
R.I.P.
He's doing his thing out there, you know, and the
dude, it's time.
Yeah, well, you know, doing his time for some stuff with Bitcoin and whatever. Okay, so tell me. So this is like kind of like a digital art thing. It's picking up. I think I spoke to you a little bit about the digital art wave.
I don't know shit about shit. I just know we have a great fan in Brett over at pokerpaint.com. And you guys might remember him. He played the Brigada Winter Open, I think, like 2 years ago, wearing a pizza costume.
Yeah.
With our patch on.
That's cool, though.
Yeah. So he's been following ever since. Finally got this company off the ground. Sent us a few pieces of artwork. Thought I'd put one up.
I feel like he didn't do one for me, though. I feel like it's kind of fucked up. Like,
yeah.
Just, like, I could have one. Like, me, Jennifer Harmon, she sucks out of me. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Maybe he's hearing this now and he makes it for me. And then next week, maybe I'll have it in the background. But now that you did Berkey's first, I might not put it up. I might make you wait a week or two. Mm-hmm. Same as I did with the shorties.
Right.
All right. So I've been at Bellagio this week.
Yeah, I don't see any threads.
It's been fucking annoying, bro.
I don't see any threads.
Nah, I was not threatening.
Same guy, win or lose.
Listen, I was fucking annoyed because I've lost 4 sessions in a row.
Wow.
I lost $500.
Are you gonna be okay?
And $700. Then I actually won one for $300.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't count that because that's like, you know, that's like date money.
Right.
So the next one, I lost like $300, and then today I lost like $1,200.
Wow. So you're down $2,400.
Yeah.
2.4 buy-ins.
If you want to count it like that.
Yeah, those 2.4 buy-in downswings are fucking real, man. Are you gonna be all right?
Dude, I feel like it's not real. Like, what's going on? You know, like, what is going on? Like,
how do you live with yourself?
You know what I was thinking about today? How many losing sessions I've had in my career. Like, total. Like, I don't think it's that much.
Sure.
Like, you think you've had more or less than 200 losing sessions in your career? Like, live poker sessions.
Way more. How many sessions do you think I've played? I've probably played 2,000 sessions.
Yeah. But like,
you think I only lose 10%
you're batting like
of the
900,
time?
Burke.
Are you drunk?
You're a sick poker player.
What the fuck is the matter with you?
I feel like I'm batting like 75% probably.
That's not sustainable. Honestly, like I don't know what's the matter with you. I don't know how you do this.
Burke, I told you people are calling me with the 5-4 off. Like you're printing. Like, you're just printing money in poker.
Oh, are you just immune to variance? You want to know what would be nice here?
Tell me.
If you had actually tracked your stats throughout your career, we could go back and look at this. We could see how often you win and lose and what your hourly is and things of that nature.
Yeah.
You just didn't do that for like the first half of your career.
Yeah, but I know I was winning. It doesn't matter. It's like at the end of the month, I have more money than the last month by a lot. Just keep winning.
Sure.
No, but okay, anyway. Now, I've been like in a weird mood, like mostly because I don't know, like I was like, am I downswinging or this is just annoying? Like,
you should lose this amount of money in an orbit. What are you talking about?
Lost,
downswing.
Okay, this is what it is. Like, it's not downswing, obviously, because it's obviously super small numbers and it doesn't really matter. I'm just like kind of talking shit because I'm annoyed. But like, honestly, right? Because like, it's my thing for me is like, I like to blunt downswings quick because like, I feel like they can actually spiral quick when you start playing worse.
How exactly are you able to dampen a downswing?
I don't know. This is what I'm talking about. Like,
what magical power do you possess?
Stop talking like that, bro.
Because it's insane. You're talking about taking control over things that you have zero control over.
Well, I feel like some of it can be like you can tilt if you start thinking.
Okay, fine. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can mentally falter.
Like today, okay, I had kings, right? Like obviously I'm complaining because it just happened. But okay, like I have kings. I open the cutoff. Kid from Pakistan literally doesn't speak English. Calls me on the button. 4-4 deuce. I'm like, Yahtzee, got his ass. Right? So then I bet. I'm supposed to bet big because theoretically, like I'm uncapped here. And like if he continues, he has a lot of middle pocket pairs, ace high that float, whatever, right? I'm sitting there with like all these fucking like the matrix is going on in my head. And I'm like, oh my God, 4-4 deuce. I got kings. And he's just gonna go bet, big bet, whatever. So I bet, right? Boom, got him. With like the B75, got him, right? Turn 5, I'm like, ooh, that's kind of a bad card for my range. Like some of its ace highs improve. Like I'm supposed to be checking here. Sometimes I check, right? Boom, got him. So like I check, and then he's like, oh, B80. I'm like, oh shit. Like this kid like repping like kind of polarized, but like he could bet 8s or whatever, trying to get me off ace king, right? Boom, call, right? Got him. 9. I'm like, yes. Check. He's like, B like 80. And I'm like, all right, call. He's like 5-4 off. And I'm just sitting there. And I'm just like, the pro that I am, I don't really say anything, right? Then the VIP on my right is like, you want to do 100 blind? After I just got fucking wrecked.
Yeah.
So I do the 100 blind, right? I lose. And I'm just like, okay. Then like VIP straddles, like re-straddle. And I'm like, re-straddle? I'm just getting fucking pummeled. Then the fucking Nick kid picks up ace king suited, you know?
Sure.
Wins the big pot. And I'm there like, yeah, you know, it's nice, you know?
Crazy when it doesn't always go your way.
And it's like, do you ever just get annoyed?
Yeah, all the fucking time. But God, I hope I don't sound like this.
You sound like this, but like not like I'm real, okay? Like the people here listening, they can relate to me.
Do you know how many zeros it takes for me to be as annoyed as you are right now?
I'm just annoyed because it just happened. And then I had to leave there stuck balls, right? Meanwhile, all the fucking nits are winning money because I am like providing
Sure.
and a nice atmosphere.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
You know how many double straddles I did today?
I think you'll be okay.
I mean, I'm going to be fine, Bert.
I think you're going to be okay.
Like, okay, so you know what happened?
I feel like you owe me some money for listening to this bad beat story.
It's not a bad beat. Whatever, man. Like, it's not even a bad beat. I was dead on the flop. I was not a bad beat.
2 outs.
Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, whatever. So I was annoyed.
I feel like we learned a lot about his betting strategies with this hand.
Yeah, I mean, when he has a good hand, he just bombs.
Bet you're not seeing too many bluffs at that size.
Yeah, but I was like beating value hands. He could just have like 10s.
Good.
Maybe.
Although he flatted the 5-4 off, maybe he 3-bets the 10s.
This kid doesn't 3-bet, man.
Yeah, I guess not.
They don't 3-bet. If you're going to 3-bet, you 3-bet 5-4 off.
That's true.
Okay, so I do want to talk about some things though, because part of the reason why I was annoyed, honestly, is not even like the money. It's more that like I feel like I provide a nice environment and I have to like I take a lot of L's for the team.
Your
right?
definition of an L is so small. So small. Like you worked really hard to get significantly better than the pool, and you give them back a fucking crumb and feel like you've just adorned them with riches galore.
Bro, when I look, listen, because all the regs have my number, right? They all have my phone number, right? And then the VIP straddles, right, for like 20, and then I make it 40 because they're like, oh, you know, do it, whatever. I put it 40 up there, right? I get a text message like, you just put up 8 big blinds. You know how many big blinds an hour are you making in this game?
You should have.
And I have to, and honestly, I'm there like, okay,
it's only 4 big blinds, first of all.
Yeah, sorry, 4 big blinds, whatever.
And you're not losing 4 big blinds because
correct, because I close the action, I can do some shit, you know, I could 3-bet them with this 10-7 suited.
Also, that's just not how poker works. No one's losing 4 big blinds there.
Right. But, you know, they view it as like, you're putting up 4 big blinds, dark, right? All right, so that happened. I get the text message for that, right? Then I told you about a spot where like your
response to all of these texts should be lose my number.
I try to be a nice guy, right? So
that is being nice. I can think of far better things to say.
Listen, so then I have to explain to them that like it's a long play. Like it's like, okay, like person, I'm here to provide this person It's fucking 7 a.m. This person could just go to sleep.
Sure.
Right? Okay. Whatever. Happy with me, obviously. Then I see a pot where like I'm at the river and this person's like directly to my right. And like I check, right? And they check. And they're like, you win. And I show and I have a pair, right? And then this person, the board's a 4 flush, right? This person like shows to me only. And I see that they have a straight and they muck it, right? And I'm like, you win. But it was too late. Like it was gone, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, here, take half of it, right? The pot's like $80 or something. I get another text message. I would never do that. Like, and I'm like, poker is about like paying attention and capitalizing on people's mistakes. And that's when I was mad. That's when I started texting you like, I can't, like, I just don't understand. I am stuck and this net is winning and I'm providing.
Yeah.
And he's capitalizing on my money.
Yeah.
On my thing.
But
right?
so small. So
but
very, very small.
Okay, but like talk to me as like, okay, you're my OG, right? Okay. What am I supposed to tell these people? Because they're not wrong.
Nothing. Tell them nothing. Let them keep. Well, that's not true. You would like to change the environment, of course. Tell them that's why they'll never play in a private game. Right? No one likes a fucking chiseler. But also, like, that's the best $40 you'll ever spend.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Like, now this VIP wants to play with you, recognizes that you play a gentleman's game instead of, a cutthroat one. That loosens them up. That makes them feel more comfortable to gamble.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, right? What do you think the bigger edge is here? That extra 2 big blinds that you gave away, or having this person losing a potential extra 2 to 10 big blinds in any one given spot versus you because they feel comfortable that you're not going to skin them.
Yeah. So that's really why I was tilted today. It was like, yeah, I'm stuck, but like I don't understand how people don't see it. It's like, okay, like clearly I'm going to give them back. Like also I'm going to restraddle. Like also I'm going to like laugh and actually say something while these people are just like sitting like this and like, telling me like, Chin, I respect you, but why are you doing that? And I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like,
the game's just too big for everybody, man. If they were in their home game with their buddies from college playing 10 cent, 25 cent, I bet there'd be a little bit more action.
That's probably fair too. It's like they're thinking like, oh, maybe I'm sitting here with like 30K to my name. Like,
yeah, when you're only making 6 blinds per 100, or I guess, in this instance per hour or whatever, you can't afford to just be giving up small edges.
Can't afford to give back that 4 big blinds.
Right, especially when like, 6 big blinds is probably above average for winners in that game.
Wow, that would be it. That would be maybe.
I mean, it's a capped 510. Obviously, like you guys go north a lot and restructure it a bunch, but like in a capped 510 of 150 big blinds or less, where the pool is nitty and seemingly slightly underrolled, six big blinds is probably pretty good.
Yeah,
they're probably making those same players are probably making 10 at 2.5.
What do you? I don't want to ask this question. I was going to ask what do you think about going north, but I don't want to ask a question that's like clearly against the rules and then put
it's
you on
so
a
funny
spot.
Because DJAF and I always were the biggest stacks at tables. Always throughout our entire career. But he played way more capped games than I did because he wasn't always in Vegas. He went from like Vegas to San Diego to LA to back to Vegas and yada, yada, yada. And I never went north in my entire life.
Wow, really?
I never had to. I just always played uncapped.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like 510 was just uncapped when I moved to Vegas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And like 2.5, there was never really a need to go north because stacks were never that deep.
Yeah.
So like it just never even really crossed my mind to go north in spots. With the exception of like maybe a one-off here and there where like I was out of town playing a cap game and I was really annoyed. Like going to Borgata and playing 510 used to drive me fucking insane.
Yeah, it was 1,500.
Yeah, I think it might have been 2K early in the Borgata days, and then they changed it. But in any event, like it never really crossed my mind. But he talked about it all the time, and it's like I'm not a stickler for rules, especially if I think rules are arbitrary and unnecessary. But I am a stickler for like not taking unfair advantages. And I think he's very similar. So just like hearing him talk about going north and knowing that like he provides so much loose action, right? It's like in any one game, he may be anywhere between break even and like plus 15 big blinds per hour. And it's like, if he wants to skew that in some way, shape, or form by splashing 1 or 2 big blinds per hour back into the pool, but be north or like go north because of it, only the weaker regs are going to complain.
Yeah.
Only the ones who are attributing so much to his win rate are really going to be bothered. And the fact of the matter is, even that's not usually be the case, because oftentimes those players are just wrecks and they want to be deeper. They want to play bigger pots and they want to, fire because they're playing small.
Yeah.
Like they're playing 5-10 capped. They probably would much rather be playing 25-50 uncapped, but the game's just not running.
Let me ask you something. Now that we're in this kind of Bellagio talk, right? Bellagio ran his first private game this week.
Okay.
It was 50-100, no limit hold'em.
Mm-hmm.
And for me specifically, I thought it was a pretty dangerous endeavor for Bellagio to run not private game. That's whatever.
Just that small.
But that small of a private game, knowing that their main highlight game that's known around the country is 10, 20, 40.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that is the marquee Bellagio no limit hold'em game known around all the United States. And now they're setting up a game that effectively is only one level up.
Right.
So I thought that was a little bit scary. I remember you telling me in the early Ivy Room days where it was like, listen, it doesn't affect anything because we're playing 300, 600. Nobody, like the stakes don't affect the environment.
Right. Like even all the pros that were chomping at the bit that were like 10, 20, 40 regs or whatever that, had money and could take shots. It was literally just that.
Yeah, but it was just shots.
They literally could have only just taken shots.
Right.
So it's like, collectively they could have all pulled their money and had one horse in there permanently if he were allowed. Or individually they all could have taken like sun run shots and whichever one of them survived. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, it was never a big burden on the ecosystem because it wasn't like there was, 25 to 100 players who would have been day in and day out regulars. But when you start talking about 50, 100, there are. That pool is a direct overlap to 10, 20, 40.
Yes.
And especially like the way that the 10, 20, 40 runs at Bellagio, where oftentimes it will turn into 20, 40, 80 or 40, 80, 160 or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, I mean, Pads kind of spoke about this a little bit on the Ben CB podcast, where he was basically saying like, and he was using it as a bit of a defense for Fedor Cruz's acceleration through the stakes. But I did think he made a fair point where he was saying basically like when you reach that 25-50 level, and he referenced the Bellagio where it's 10, 20, 40. What ultimately happens is it's kind of a big stopping point because now there's a big financial barrier between that level and the next level, which is oftentimes going to be like 200, 400.
Yeah, huge.
And now
there is no like sorry to cut you off. There's
no scaling.
There's no 50, 100 like 100, 200,
right.
150, 300, 200, 400 like online would be.
Right, and I actually think that that's kind of a good thing. Because what ultimately happens is it creates a lot of versatility at that 10, 20, 40 level where now the game is going to kind of play to its characters.
Yes.
And it will be bigger in some instances. It'll play smaller in some instances. But what it ultimately does is it creates a lot of health at that level of the ecosystem. And because the game's uncapped, there isn't a huge desperate need to progress people out of it, right? So there isn't this massive need to say like, well, we need the best 5% of the 10, 20, 40 players to graduate to something else. Otherwise, they're just going to cannibalize this stake.
Right.
That's not really true, right? Because there's enough players in that collective pool that I don't think the cannibalization process takes place. And also...
And it's a famous game. That helps.
Yeah. There's enough like influx of loose money.
Right.
Where I don't think it matters. But lastly, like the most talented of the bunch will find a way to 200, 400.
Yeah.
And it should only be a tiny select few that make that graduation anyway. So I think that like, the setup as it is, it's kind of great from an ecosystem standpoint because if 50, 100 existed, 100, 200, 200, 400, all these games existed, what it does is it dilutes all of the player pools between 20, 40 and 200, 400. And that's problematic because now the weakest players do get eaten up and they constantly have to step back. But stepping back is a difficult process that a lot struggle with. So if you're losing at 100 or 200, you may not step back until you're only rolled to play like 510. As is, you could still just do that, right? You could be a 10, 20, 40 player that maybe just like barely be getting his head above water at those stakes, and sometimes the gameplay is too big and you have to leave. Sometimes the gameplay is smaller and you grind it out, whatever the case
That
may
happens
be.
to me. That happens to me. Yeah.
But the stepping up and stepping back process is pretty fluid because you're not so far removed from 510 that it's an ego shot or even an hourly shot to the point where like, I've been playing way too big to waste my time now at 510. And that's kind of like how I felt whenever I started playing the big game. It's like, if my expected hourly in this game when we're playing 3-6-12 is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 5K, even if I only have a piece of it, going back to 10-20, it's like I can just never make comparable money.
Right.
I should just focus on other streams of revenue for the rest of my life that may be passive or, growing as a human, like basically invest my time away from playing poker into better endeavors than just like collecting short-term EV.
For sure. So then what are your thoughts on this?
So the private thing is a problem, right? So if 10, 20, 40 ever turn private, I think the entire ecosystem collapses. And that's kind of the fear whenever Aria Bellagio set this precedent that they'll run 25, 50 plus for private, which Aria's been doing it now for like 18 months.
Right. 25, 50 with like, I've heard the rumor is like the 100 ante. That kind of lets it slide. And then now Bellagio.
I mean, it's really just about paying rake, right?
Yeah. I mean, I love the Bellagio. I don't want to say
for what it's worth, they don't care. They're just renting their tables and their staff.
Well, this was a little bit weird, right? So there was 50, 100 public and 50, 100 private simultaneously next to each other.
Yeah. That
was like the first time I've ever seen that happen.
There's only one real reason why that's extremely bad.
Okay.
Do you have any guesses?
I mean, if I was in the public game and I was not a pro, I would want to move to this game.
Well, whether you want to or not, you'll get poached.
Yeah.
That's what the problem is it's just open poaching, right? So when these two games run simultaneously to one another and the public game gets a little bit better, the private game just kicks out their lowest value customer and they just poach one from the other game, right? And that's super shitty because now it creates this whole secondary ecosystem that is lining the pockets of a select few, which are effectively cherry picked based on who's able to orchestrate the creation of these games and whatnot. But it's also particularly bad because you're not going to see the simultaneous runnings of these games much beyond the poaching, right? So now it's just like public poaching. People have been kicked out of casinos for this.
Yes.
Walking in, poaching people
especially
from 10, 20, 40. Yeah. So it's like, if they're concerned with protecting the health of their ecosystem, for the same reason why they cap 510 in order to ensure that 1020 remains healthy, this is very similar, right? Like if you want 10, 20, 40 to remain your staple game and what you're known for, you just simply can't run the next stake up privately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if it was like
at a zero, no one cares.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Oof. I mean, that's a big zero.
But I mean, like that's been the precedent for the better part of a decade. It's only been within the last 18 months that they've been reducing further and further and further the stakes that they're willing to run with a guarded list.
Is it because the games have just moved to other places? So effectively, like we know JRB has moved games potentially to the Win, allegedly, and other people are running in houses now. Like, is it just like they want the business? So they just say like, fuck it, we'll do 50, 100?
I'm not sure, honestly, because those games don't cater to JRB and VIPs. It only caters to people who are, again, just chiselers.
Sorry, I meant like,
I understand
because the games are not there.
No, I understand.
Are they just like taking on anybody?
Yeah, I understand. But what I'm getting at is that like they're cutting off their nose to spite their face in that instance, right? It's different if you're catering to a JRB type that can bring you in big players who A, may gamble in your casino, but B, even if they don't, are playing high enough that you can justify a pretty sizable rake to the game. But yeah, like these lower games, they're just not offering anything in return except for like
a closed list.
The closed list and the space. Whereas like in the past when we were playing in Ivy's room and everything, we had full concierge, we had butlers, we had free food from anywhere on property. We were like really, really, really well taken care of. And obviously that was a big byproduct of Bobby Baldwin and JRB's relationship with MGM. But even still, it's like there's a ton of value to. Well,
I'm sure the win is like,
I'm sure they are too. I have no idea.
Right.
But the reason behind that is because there's a ton of value in having that namesake game.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Knowing that the big game in town is running there. And that's what, in my opinion,
that's what Bobby's room is. For mixed games.
Right.
It's like for mixed games, Bobby's room is like, I always felt like Bobby's room and Ivy's room were just like always competing to be like the top. Like,
I just always saw them as separate. One was mixed and one was no limit.
Right, of course. But at the end of the day, they were both like the big rooms. Like, it's like this is where the big money moves, you know? And now I'm just like, when I saw that, I'm like, man, like, is this what it's gonna be? Like 50, 100? Like, I'll play. Like, let me in, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was playing 50, 100 in the public game, and I was like, I'll gladly sit in the private game. Some of our friends were in those games. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, it's like, this is Bobby's room. Like,
I mean, the thing is, it's a two-pronged conversation, right? Like, first and foremost, what is this going to do to the ecosystem? In my opinion, when you start doing it those stakes and below, it causes chaos for the ecosystem. I think that ultimately what happens is you dampen the upper level and you force pros to start stepping down, which then cannibalizes your customers, right? But let's say I'm wrong, right? Now we look at it from the secondary standpoint of like, what does this do for the aspiring professional? And I don't think there's an argument there. Like, I think the big problem is when these private games come up in the public sphere as a conversation, what happens is people argue one side or the other. But they lump them together as if they're the same argument, right? So like you'll see people talking about how much it damages the ecosystem in the same breath as when Sean or somebody else is saying like, this is a skill set you need to acquire as a professional moving forward. Mm-hmm. They're both right.
Yes.
They're separate conversations, right? And that's kind of like what I'm getting at here is like we can have a long form discussion about what this could potentially do to the poker ecosystem as far as cash games go. And I do think that it's probably very likely to be a big net negative, right? We can have a separate discussion as far as like what this does to the aspiring pro. And I'm 100% in agreement that like you need to do things beyond being a chiseler that make you good for poker.
Yes, right? I agree with that. And I've made that like my yearly goal. Yeah. Like my goal this year is like, okay, I'm good at poker, but I don't want to be known for being good at poker. I want to be known for being good to have around. And like, not to toot my own horn, but like a lot of like the people that are not pros at Bellagio right now really like playing with me. Yeah. They're like, they switch to my table. They're like, I come in, they're like, yo, what's up? Like, whatever. And I'm like, and I know where they're from. I have their phone number. Like, I know where they like to eat, like, whatever. Like, I'm doing my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a pro's pro.
Well, so I think that kind of really speaks to what I'm talking about. It's like, at the end of the day, this game is very difficult and it's very, very hard to make an above average living at. So those who are aspiring to do so only want to be focused on getting really good at the game.
Right. And
that's a big problem. And we could even have that secondary conversation as far as like, well, what does that do to the ecosystem? Right.
That's true.
What does training like a solver and then entering the live realm do for the overall ecosystem? Where you're talking about something totally different than online. Online is just a sheer volume game where it's all about making rapid decisions as close to optimally as possible and getting a return. Nobody ever sees anybody. Nobody ever feels anything. Basically the law of large numbers comes through, and whoever is operating at the best side of skill wins, right? But live is totally different. It's a social game, 100% social. The volume is stripped away. You're forced into very, very deep decisions that are one-offs, right?
Yes.
It's just one-off after another, over and over and over again. And now, when we're talking about exploring that, rising through the ranks and getting to the pinnacle isn't strictly just about being great at poker.
That's true.
Yeah, it's necessary. You can't be bad at poker.
Right.
And sure, some undeserving people will only be slightly average or above and get further along than they should. But you have to kind of look at it the same way you look at sport, right? Most players don't put in enough volume in their career for us to undeniably say that they're the greatest of all time or they rank in this list.
There's always an argument. There's always an error discussion.
Always some subjectivity, right? Yeah. Poker's the exact same. There are going to be a lot of overachievers in sport because they do the little things right. And poker's the exact same. There are going to be a lot of people who earn way more money than their skill set deserves because they have a secondary set of skills that the vast majority of those who are just incredibly good and studied at this game don't possess.
Yes.
So we have to explore that when we're talking about the live realm, right?
What are some of those skills you think you like? So let's start naming them, like psychology, like some sort of like meta training, like kind of.
I mean, I just think first and foremost across the board, it's to be pleasurable at the table, right? Yeah. So be affable in some way, shape, or form. Offer something to the environment. It's like going to a party and not being a wallflower, right? In some regards, that's what's happening. You're in a social setting where everybody is agreeing upon this silly game where we're going to trade money back and forth, right? Now, some people are there strictly to hammer out their hourly, and it's obvious.
Yes.
Very few people enjoy their company.
Yes.
Very few people are like fist pumping
like
at the guy who's literally clocking in and clocking out.
Right.
Right? But that is what it is. They're a necessary part of the ecosystem too, right? So it's not like they're doing anything wrong. Just understand your ceiling is reduced. Your path to scaling isn't nearly as clear as somebody who's more well-rounded, right? Okay, just like if you're on pursuit to find a girlfriend and it's all about going to parties, right? Putting yourself in social settings, but you're shy, you're introverted, and you don't dance or like you don't approach, whatever, right? Yeah. Your ceiling is quite lower.
Yeah.
You're not pulling the 10.
Yeah.
You're not pulling the gregarious, gorgeous blonde who's working the room and speaking to everybody, you know? You're finding somebody who's your counterpart.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? You're seeing the other shy girl who's a little bit less courageous than you, and you know, you may offer her a drink, whatever.
Maybe she's courageous somewhere else, Burke. I don't know.
Whatever. Happily ever after, that's fine. Just recognize the expectation.
Right.
Your expectation is you can't go there looking to pull 10s.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna be disappointed. It's just like you're probably not gonna rise to high stakes.
Right. You're not swagged out. You're not swagged out.
Sure. So you know that, but that's fine. Everybody plays their role. Secondarily, like there are the people who only focus on the social skills, right? The people who are great at networking, the people who are great at chumming it up with VIPs, the people who, in my opinion, go too far.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they are being disingenuously friendly to somebody that they're only trying to fleece because they don't have a win rate otherwise.
Yes, that happens.
Yeah. Like I'm going to get a bunch of these guys in a room together and my win rate's going to go from one big blind per hour
to infinite,
to 10 or 15. And we're going to play bigger.
Right.
So now I'm going to make even more money. So like, I think that those guys are not great actors either. But again, there's an absolute place for them in the ecosystem. They're doing a lot of the grunt work socially that a lot of these other guys are
not doing.
And now these two kind of meet together and create like a full player because now this super social person who isn't all that great at poker needs to fill out his lineup with some people who aren't too threatening and he could potentially make money off of also by pieces or staking or whatever the case may be. So you get the chiseler, you get a couple guys who are going to clock in and clock out for you, and you offer them a chance to increase their win rate through these good spots, right? The guy who ultimately succeeds is the one who can navigate all of these worlds pretty fluidly, right? It's the one who recognizes how big of a win rate he currently has in the environment that he's in and how much of it he can sacrifice or give back to the collective in order to further propel himself with opportunity moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a very unique skill set. I think only a handful of people put it in high regard, but almost all of them are truly successful. I don't know too many people who are decent at poker and take a sort of like, I don't want to say socialistic point of view, but it is like a little bit of I'm not going to try to. It's not
going to be
it's
all
not
for
free
myself.
market capitalism,
right? It's not all just me.
Yeah, it's not. I'm going to try to maximize my earn in the short run. It's more so like I'm going to allow myself to cap my earn in the short run in order to hopefully maximize or at least scale my earn in the long run.
Yeah, I don't think that's taught in poker. Period.
Well, it's not.
It might just be we're the first person to ever say that.
It's a social thing, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this all boils back down to a social structure. So what I'm just talking about are 3 different personality types.
Yeah.
Right? One bordering on sociopathic because all they care about is bottom line.
Yes.
And they'll literally do anything. And that's where we see our cheaters from, right? The guys who are willing to not just step out of gray territory in order
Just
to maximize,
yeah.
but go into like black territory in order to maximize. And like there's a spectrum of that, right? So how far one's willing to bend or compromise their morals and ethics is just a matter of like how much do they want to increase their bottom line kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? And then we see this other personality type that's like reserved to themselves, really only looking out for number one, but doing so at the risk
Zero
of,
action, zero smiling, zero laughing, zero jokes.
but they're also doing it at the risk of keeping their head above water, right? Because that character makes up a large chunk of the middle. The small losers, break even, small winning.
It's so
players.
many of them because I genuinely I speak to them because they respect me and I respect their game. They're not bad players, you know.
If they're winning, they're working harder on the game because
right.
that's the only thing that they have a focus on.
Right. And I'm just like, yo, like sometimes I just ask them, like, why don't you talk? Like you see, like me and you are polar opposites at the table. Like not me and you, but me and them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yo, like why don't you, like this person's talking to us, like let's talk to them, like whatever, like we'll have fun. Like you make more if they stick around, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they're there for entertainment. Like they blatantly say it. Like I'm not here to win. I'm here to have fun. Like, and I'm like, yeah, me too. Like whatever, let's go. And then, but they're like, they literally write back and they're saying, I can't think of like 3 things at the same time. I can't like figure out what my bet size is and talk.
Right.
And I'm just like,
work on
like, what is wrong with you? Like
no, and to be fair, like that's reasonable. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. It may come a little bit more naturally to me than others just because I grew up in a different era.
Yeah.
But even still, I have to work on it. Right? I have to know where I'm comfortable. Like I have to know the pockets by which I can manipulate the environment through conversation or through action or through gestures or whatever the case may be. And I'm never doing it in a malicious intent. It's always genuine, right? If I'm joking, it's because I'm genuinely having a good time with the people around me. If I'm being snarky, but a little bit self-deprecating, it's probably because I'm in a bit of a mood, but you know, people enjoy my pain. That's why the self-deprecation gets layered on top rather than throwing the snark at somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
I've seen
that guy who's just chiseling. Whenever something bad happens to him, the snark just gets thrown right to the person who's the person who did it.
Yeah.
And it's like you just have to shift the snark onto yourself, right? You can be annoyed and stew outwardly. People love that.
Yeah.
People love that, especially from a winning player. It's great to see him wounded, right? But you can't do it in such a way where they feel bad.
Attacked.
Or they feel attacked, yeah. Or they feel like, you know, you are putting them on their defense, whatever the case may be. Like you don't ever want to put somebody into fight or flight in a situation where there's no hands being dealt.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm gonna teach a little webinar at the Bellagio with all these fucking regs. It's just thing is, I used to be one of them, so I know them. Like I respect it because it was like, yo, I was there. Like I know it's annoying. Like you want to win. Like you just want to win so bad because like there's these fucking 22-year-old kids just like chomping at you, ready to take you down. There's people in the YouTube comments saying you suck, and you're just like sitting there. And you want to win every day. You show up, and I get it. I understand. I respect them. But now I'm like old. I feel like I'm the old one. Like I'm like, bro, you gotta chill.
Well, the irony is
like
that
the bet size, like it's gonna be fine.
Yeah,
you know,
the irony is that the control behind winning or losing is simply how much EV you gain or lose on top of the default decisions that you're going to make. Right? So the only control we have over whether or not we book a W is the manipulation of the environment.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Our execution is going to be within 1 or 2 standard deviations, depending on how well we're playing, of what our expectation was that day. And variance is largely just going to dictate whether or not we win or lose. Yeah. Right? The hands are going to play the way the hands play. And sure, we're not going to play anywhere near perfectly, of course, but we're going to be pretty consistent with the buttons that we click. And whatever the EV is attributed to those buttons that we click, that's going to be pretty close within a couple standard deviations of what our return is that day. And sometimes you just get dealt a loser. Sometimes you get dealt a winning day in spite of yourself, whatever the case may be. However, where the control actually comes in is being able to manipulate or make your environment malleable in such a way that on a day where you were supposed to break even, you won 400 big blinds because you talked somebody into a call or a fold, or you found yourself in a gambly spot from a person who didn't show up with the intention to gamble. But something happened, something triggered inside of them, largely because you or someone else in the environment caused it. And from that point forward, it was on.
Yep. That's
Right?
what I do for them. That's what they don't appreciate in me, Burke.
Sure.
I bring this environment and then they go home and then they tell people they're good.
But this is why I'm saying that you don't bring it for them.
I bring it for them.
But you don't, because their line is still just going to return the EV that was expected from it. They're not doing anything to capitalize on what you're offering, right? Their range didn't open up 10%.
No.
Because this guy is ready to pop off.
Yeah.
So they don't get the VPIP the extra 10%. So therefore they don't increase their EV by that extra nominal amount.
But that ace king that they open that they usually makes one big blind, now it's making like 5.
Maybe, I guess.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, I think that those all-in pre-spots are pretty rare.
yeah.
And it's also not making that much more. Like the fact that the guy gets in with Queen Jack when your boy has ace king or whatever, it's like, yeah, sure, fine. But like the range of hands that gets it in when he's playing badly versus the range of hands that gets it in when he's playing good, it's only a few percentage
It's only a
points.
few percent. You're right.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so like, you know, he's like 43% instead of 48%.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, okay, you're right. He's making a little bit more money, but like it's a blind or two.
Yeah, I get it. I just want them to live their life happy, you know?
Oh, you
All
just
right.
want them to lose every time they sit.
I want the regs
Then
to...
you don't have a game.
Yeah, you're right. Sometimes I feel happy for them too. I mean, I can't win it all.
Never if they beat the soft player.
Yeah, no.
The only time you feel happy for a reg winning is when he beats a reg that you hate more.
Yes, that's true.
Like when he beats a reg that's more egregious in the chiseling, you're like, yes.
Yes, especially
Fuck that guy.
if he's like 100 big blind buy-in reg. Like,
Yeah.
get that guy out of here.
Yeah.
Send him home. Okay, so talking about lineups and stuff like that, high stakes poker is supposed to come back. Right?
Sure.
This will be our final topic for the day. High stakes poker is going to come back. There is anticipation now that COVID's kind of dying down. It seems like PokerGo is gearing up again. The duel has been a success, it seems, between Antonius Vandiari and Phil Hellmuth. If you guys haven't checked that out, check it out. And now the buzz is like high stakes poker. What's going to happen? What it is. What lineups, what different things from the old high stakes poker you want to see? What same things you want to see? Like, what do you expect? I don't expect it to be in PokerGo studio, like in the same table with like as everything.
I mean, they have the ability to change the set.
Yeah, but the set's still the same. We know what the set looks like, right? Like,
kind of.
I feel
they
like
didn't build that studio to not film there.
I understand, but okay. So how I remember high stakes poker, right? It's like it had the look that it was like in a mansion, like in like a house. Like it didn't have the look that it was in the PokerGo studio,
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like,
But that's the problem. So this is the problem with these reboots is that everybody has the expectation of regenerating what we saw in the past. It's over, man. It's over.
high stakes poker, man.
It's over. They're not going to pay thousands of dollars an hour for players. They're not going to get millions of dollars in strapped cash on the table.
They need that.
They're not going to find another Farha or Benjamin or Gus Hansen or any of these guys to come out of the woodwork and just like play a non-game theory approach. The stakes are just too high, right? So it's just like, I'm sorry, it's different. Like, in my opinion, what it should be is it should be in some way, shape, or form an illustration of the absolute best talent that we have out there to offer.
But then what is Poker After Dark then?
The opposite. It's the one where we invite the Rex. It's the Bob Bright show. It's the
I always felt like
Bill
Poker
Klein
After
show.
Dark was like the showcase of like the top talent, because it was always Ivy, Antonius, and Dwan like battling every night. Poker After Dark, and then they threw in Phil Hellmuth and like
Yeah.
And then like high stakes poker was like Guy and Sammy, and you know what I'm saying? Like high stakes poker was like, it was just different. It was a lot of like, it was like this doctor.
But it was also like the first time we've seen it. Like the only way that you could replicate that is if somehow you could convince 6 non-pros to sit down and play like 2K, 4K.
Yeah, it just can't be that big anymore, right? Like it just can't be 500,000.
It has, in my opinion, it has to almost be bigger. Like do you remember Keating's game?
Alex Keating?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was him and Rob. 5 Rex.
And Rob Young.
Young's game. I guess I'm counting Rob as a wreck in this instance. But yeah, it was like 5 Silicon Valley type. And they're playing 200, 400. And they're 6 figures deep, effective, all of them. Mm-hmm. That game was not memorable outside of Rob just gambling with Keating in one hand.
Yeah.
I don't remember a thing about it.
That's true.
Right? Because, the fact of the matter is, Guy's special. He's loose. Sammy was loose. David Benjamin was loose. Mm-hmm. Right? You're going to see a lot more of Antonius's, which he wasn't exactly a fan favorite. He was a nit.
He was a woman favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Good looking nit. So yeah, it's like, I don't see, we just hang on to nostalgia so much in this community, and it's a shame because it doesn't allow us a way forward. Nobody's innovating, and it's a tragedy, right? Like at some point we need to get to the agreement that some larger entities than these singular focused media companies need to step in and sportify poker the way that other industries have been taken over, right? So if you could take the collective top 100 or 200 best players in the world, and this already happened in the high roller circuit for what it's worth, and you just remove them from open gameplay. The high rollers don't play open anymore.
No.
They only play high rollers, right? So we've already seen this isolation begin to take place. If we could make that a league now in some way, shape, or form, and we can make it in a way where those players don't have to be at risk. They're just literally playing for a salary and some share of the prize pool, similar to golf. Everything would change. These shows would all collectively change because you don't need the loose money anymore.
Right.
It's just pitting the best of the best against one another and bringing home trophies for
who's the best.
Yeah. So it's like, I kind of made this argument on the Orbit where if casinos wanted to step in and do this, they're the only entities large enough, right? So if MGM wanted to have a pro team and Sands wanted to have a pro team and, maybe Poker Stars wanted to have a pro team and Party Poker wants to have a pro team, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you could literally just build tiers where, you effectively make it such that whoever you sign to those tiers, they're contracted. They're never at risk. They're playing for a salary and some percentage of prize pools at any given time. You could make it such that obviously the entities that are signing them have, you would have to make it such that the entities that are signing them have means to an end, like have a means to collect profit. But all of that comes through TV rights, right? So it's like figure out the TV side and build the product around it. And I think it's completely viable.
Makes sense.
It just takes a lot of moving parts. It takes a lot of collaboration and almost collusion amongst very wealthy individuals.
Yeah. And players that want to do it.
Yeah. Then it just takes enough incentive on the player side,
right?
Where it's like, okay, we're going to pay you enough where you're never going to want to play an open game again if you're a high roller.
Yes.
And if you're a mid-tier guy, it's like, okay, we're going to pay you enough where you're never going to want to play an open game below those stakes again. Mm-hmm. We'll let you play open these stakes and higher. Right. That's fine. But like you just can't play an open game if you're signed at the 5, 10, 10, 20 and let's say 500 through 2K level in tournaments, whatever. You just can't play those stakes.
Yeah, outside.
Or sorry, you can't play smaller than that outside.
Yeah,
right.
So what do we expect then, Burke? Like, what are you seeing? Like,
I expect it to just be poker after dark.
Just another version.
Yeah,
just different name.
I mean, maybe this is the higher stake game, and Poker After Dark goes to smaller stakes. That would make a lot of sense to me. Logically.
How much lower?
Like 25-50.
So 25-50 for Poker After Dark, and then like 100, 200,
maybe 2-4 plus.
That's big.
It's not that big. I mean, they've been running those games forever on Poker After Dark.
Yeah, but it seems like it was the same.
Nothing will change. It's going to be the same lineups.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It seems like it was the same people. It was like you, G-Man.
The only way to get new faces in there is to allow extremely talented players who offer really nothing other than their chops to the game. And if you're going to do that, who's going to be the sacrificial lambs?
That's the thing. Like, it's hard to develop games, right? Because, like, you know, people, I don't know if the people know this, like, it's not easy. Like, for example, like, as a fan, right? Poker fan outside, they're excited when it's you, G-Man, Jungle Man, Linus. Like, they just like pin all you guys into a cage match, and whoever wins, they get to talk about it tomorrow at work, where they're like, oh, did you see the game yesterday with Berkey versus G-Man? And they were like playing this big pot and whatever. But like, as a pro, you're not like, you get the text message and you're like, oh, what's the lineup? And you get this like 17 killers, you know, and you're just like, all right. Like, then all of a sudden your brain starts thinking like, why am I doing Poker Go this favor? Like, I don't,
100%.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
100%. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of being the sixth best player in the world if you're competing against the other five?
Exactly.
Right. And if that's the narrative that's being laid, some incentive has to be kicked back. And that's just not going to happen. We're not going to see players start getting paid their hourly to show up. Right. And therefore, they're just taking on exorbitant risk for no good reason.
Right.
Right. Even if you're technically the sixth best player in the world, but you think you're the fifth or fourth, and you're still being presented a lineup where it's the top six players in the world, there is absolutely no reason to want to play that game.
Right.
You know, that sucks. It's incentive, I guess, to learn so that you can potentially be the best player in the world.
But at nosebleeds, like, you know,
right,
in front of all the eyes. Like,
right.
It's like,
and that's the other big issue. It's not just that you're playing a really tough lineup versus stiff competition at a stake level where, you know, you're financially at risk and you probably have others at financially risk with you. On top of all that, every hand's revealed.
Right.
So you're giving away strategy. You're giving away, you know, potential holes in your game. You're exchanging all of this otherwise unknown information amongst now a collective group of the best.
Right. That's the problem. Like, it's this juggling act. I feel as if like Poker Go should just say like, okay, like for the killer lineups, they just pay. Like, just pay. Right?
Yeah,
what's the problem?
I just don't think that they will.
Like that Doug Polk week with you, or was it Jungle Man week or something? Like, like it was just insane. Like, it's like, okay, like I was rooting for you, obviously, but it's like, I'm not, like, you're not excited to like sign up for this game, you know, like you're gonna play because like, you think you know, at the time you were saying like, I'm not turning down any lineup or whatever, and people were like kind of holding you to it. But at the same time, it's like, you're not sitting there like fist pumping like, oh, I can't wait to go play a Poker Go with fucking Jungle Man, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in some regard, I kind of was, because I felt like I had a lot more experience live with at least half of the table. But yeah, it's like, you know, at the end of the day, you're not earning much, right? Like, if I'm wrong, I'm losing a few big blinds per hour. If I'm right,
you're winning.
I'm winning a few big blinds per hour.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I may be winning or losing $2K an hour. And that's tough. So it's like, is Poker Go really going to start giving $15K per player? It'd be nice.
Right.
I don't see it happening. You know, I just don't see that being part of the budget. If it is, then you're already getting your toes wet in the idea that I was previously speaking of, right? If it's going to cost you $100,000 to run a 6-max every single time you run it, wouldn't it just be easier to get 25 players under contract? Right. And just have them at your disposal all year long. Now, getting 25 players under contract might cost you, you know, 7 to 10 million. Might cost you 15 million, depending on like how big you're going and like what stakes they're running.
Do you think there's enough aura in television poker that is just, they don't need to do this stuff? Like, they're just gonna find enough people that are just gonna want to play on TV?
No, because it's you know, no offense, but it's not TV. It's the internet, right? You're just playing a live stream game.
Yeah.
And I don't think people discern all that much between playing at Poker Go Studio, playing it live at the Bike Studio, or playing at S4Y. Like, I think that a broadcast that reaches X amount of viewers, or TCH Live or whatever, like, I think for most, just having the opportunity to be seen and watched, like it's a sporting event, is enough. And there aren't that many people who want to play nosebleeds, especially under a watchful eye. There are a lot of really great players, a la Guy Liberté, that have come through Ivy's room that would never play in Poker Go.
Why do you think that is?
Because they're like super wealthy business owners or CEOs or whatever, and they don't want the scrutiny.
Yeah.
They just want to lose their million behind closed doors in peace.
Yeah, or they just don't want to be on TV. Like they don't. Maybe they live a lifestyle that they like to gamble in private.
100%. You have to remember, like, depending upon what their business is, it's not exactly a great look.
Right.
So many of them won't play tournaments.
Right.
Some of it's because of the time constraint and the fact that they don't want to do something for multiple days. But a lot of it is just like, I don't want traceable records of like what I'm doing. I don't want people to see that I bought into $1 million tournament whenever I'm paying them $30,000 a year.
Yeah. They don't want their wife to know.
That too. Paying her $30,000 a year too.
I'm just saying. Like, stake me in the $1 million term. You know what I'm saying? I got you, man.
Some of them do.
Okay, so yeah, I'm curious to see what's gonna happen, because I am very curious how it's gonna, like, High Stakes Poker and Poker After Dark were different shows on different channels with similar players crossover, but definitely a different pulse to the game.
Yeah. I don't think this is a matter of product. I think this is just a matter of Poker Go vacuuming up licenses so that other people can't make these products. So they have all the rights now to the past shows. That's great for them. They have a full back catalog. That's awesome for them. People get to watch. And now, you just reboot the show as you reboot it. Maybe they have the ability to get it back on TV.
Yeah.
In which case that'll be the differentiating factor between High Stakes and Poker After Dark. But I don't think that there's like an active thought or marketing attempt to make it significantly different.
I hope you're wrong, but I feel like history has told us that you're probably not. So, in this exact instance, Burke, in this exact instance,
sure. Not the history of the podcast,
not the history of poker, all in all itself,
or the history of the podcast.
I hope you all enjoyed this show. I had a lot of fun. I feel like I'm excited to be back. I know I said that last week, but I feel like this is the rightful place in the universe where I belong, and Berkey has to listen to me talk crazy for an hour every week, which is kind of fun, man. It's kind of fun. I gotta say, it's like, you don't know what I'm gonna say, and that excites me in a way. Like, it's like kind of crazy.
This is why we can't do this live anymore.
It's like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I had a bunch of notes. We didn't even talk about half the stuff. There's like, should I talk about half the stuff here? I had an overbetting webinar this week. It went really well.
That's good.
It got a lot of positive feedback. If you all haven't watched it, it's on the S4Y TV website. $9.99. It's like, bro, what I gave away in this podcast. Sorry, also in this podcast. But what I gave away in this webinar, it's criminal that I gave it away for $10. It's fucking criminal. Like, if you guys go to Bellagio right now and use this against me, I'm gonna punch you in the fucking mouth. And then I want to say, give me $10 personally, okay?
Right.
Give the company 10, but give me 10 too. Shit. Tracking like the range is like, come on, man. No more time. When are we going out? When are we making the price higher?
Next year, man. Next year.
Good. It's 3 months.
We got a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
$149.99. All right. Let us know what you thought about this podcast, webinar, podcast, vlogcast. We have everything.
It's kind of all wrapped into one.
All right. Let us know what you thought about this vlogcast. Leave a comment below. Subscribe. Tell your friends. I am tired of seeing these people with 100,000 views that don't know jack shit about poker. I said it.
Wow. Bang, bang.
I said it. Don't ask me who, because it might be your favorite. And then you're not going to like me so much. But then I'll be your favorite, because we're the realest fucking podcast. What was that podcast you went on? The Orbit? Shout out to The Orbit. But they not the realest fucking podcast. There's the realest fucking podcast. Subscribe. Tell your friends. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the show.
Not gonna do nothing. You are not above me. I bet you wish you was me. I know it, I know.